That's a very tough act to follow. Firstly, giving honor to God, who's the head of my life. Our covering Bishop Jacqueline E. McCullough, my pastor mom, Pastor Seaman, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to stand behind this desk. It gets heavier. This outfit here, whew. The executive, ordained ministers, deacons, staff, and the entire congregation, saints and friends, both in-house and watching online, I greet you. To all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day. We salute you, and we thank you for stepping up to the plate and being that hero for your children. Before I knew of the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, before I knew of Batman fighting crime in Gotham City, before I knew of Superman reversing the rotation of the Earth to save Lois Lane, and before I knew about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I'm going to age myself for that one, but the Cowabunga, yes, there was my dad, my hero, my guy. To my own father, Elder Edward Jr. Durrant, more affectionately known to me as Brew, I love you, my guy. I don't know where I'll be without your love, your example, and your guidance throughout my life. Now, the text you have heard read by Deacon Matthew is a familiar text to most, but I thought it very fitting for today as we take time to celebrate the man in our lives. Through this conversation between Solomon and his son, my prayer is that hearts will be changed back to God's original intent for your lives. The topic I've chosen for this text is the game plan. Oh, I was gonna let you sit, but yeah. The topic I've chosen for this particular text is the game plan, our Father's timeout. And I want to focus on verses 5 and 6, and we can read it together. That's why I had everybody still standing. But we can read it together, verses 5. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct thy paths. You can have your seats, because it's in my notes. A timeout, when used in sports, is a halt in the passage of play. This allows the coach or team captain an opportunity to stop the clock and use the time to communicate with the team to determine strategy or to inspire morale amongst the players. Now, my dad and I have been to hundreds of sporting games together, mostly cricket. Now, I remember very vividly one time, a few years ago, we was watching, more aptly known, the reigning cup match captain, Somerset Cricket Club. As you should. Playing against another visiting local team. There was a particular play that kept happening over and over and over again while Somerset were in the field trying to get the opposition out. One player was fielding close to the wicket and kept having the ball hit in his direction, but as it turned out, the player was standing too close to the opposing batter, and therefore he was out of position to make a catch or to stop the ball. Like I said, this happened at least 3 times while we were watching. So we were sitting next to some other spectators, and my dad leaned over and said, "Hey, Rye, you see that guy's fielding too close to the wicket. He's out of position. He can't even do anything. The ball's coming too fast at him, and he doesn't have any time to react to make a play." A pretty simple observation, but to those who don't know, my dad knows his cricket. A former captain of the Bermuda Under-19 national team and a well-respected player among his peers throughout his playing and even his non-playing days. A few minutes later, the captain made a gesture to have that same player who was fielding too close take a few steps back to allow him more time to recover, which would allow him to make a play at the ball. Well, wouldn't you know, immediately, and I'm literally saying the next play, the ball came in that same fielder's direction, only this time he was able to make a play at the ball. And guess what? Got him out, get cracking. My dad is a very astute analyst of any situation that requires problem solving. No wonder why anytime I had problem solving homework, I never even brought that to my mama. That just was not her thing. I couldn't take it to my mama. It didn't even matter if my daddy wasn't home or not. I would only wait until my dad got home to do that homework, because that's his forte. Unfortunately, the more modern we are becoming as a community, the fundamentals are being lost, and with that, the generation of youth coming up are without a lot of the things that we had when we were younger, and even, sadly, took for granted. And I don't know of anybody who will argue that that is a very sad reality. Which brings us here to Solomon, having a conversation with his son. You see, Solomon, being the wisest man, obviously saw that his son was in need of a pep talk, a timeout, if you will. Even if he didn't need the timeout right then and there, Solomon knew that now was the time to hit pause and give a few words of wisdom to his son, to prepare his son and to coach him so that he is equipped to navigate through life's challenges, because you can be the biggest and the baddest brother out there, but at some point, there's going to be something bigger and better than you. And what will you do in that situation? Just a couple of quotes here about coaching. Coaching is unlocking a person's potential to maximize their growth. John Whitmore. A good coach will make his players see what they can be rather than what they are. Ara Pashigan. A good coach can change a game, but a great coach can change a life. John Wooden. And that's what we need more of. A generation of men not afraid to make a lasting impact on a society that is so direly in need of men to take action, who first of all know who they are in God and can also send a warning of things to come when you choose to step out of God's will for your lives. Now, there have been many, many great coaches across all sports, but God, who is the greatest coach in history, has a 100% winning percentage. Now, gents, and everybody here actually, as Michael Jordan used to say before every game, it's game time. So let's take a look at the text here as we cover the following 3 points. Point number 1, the warning. Point 2, the working. And point 3, the winning. I begin point 1. While preparing for any game, the head coach lays out a formula for his team's success, usually with a combination of plays, sometimes referred to as the X's and the O's, to show the team how to come out victorious over the opposition. The text begins with Solomon drawing up a play for his son. Verses 1 and 2 says, "My son, do not forget my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee." I'm sure people know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Out of the 10 commandments, what is the first commandment with a promise? Honor thy mother and father, so that you got it. It is important to know that nothing in the Bible is coincidental or accidental. Many non-believers can ask, how can you read that book? It's just some old, outdated fairy tale book. Seriously? But I've got news for you. The Bible is more up-to-date than tomorrow's newspaper. 2 Timothy 3, verse 16 says that all Scripture is given by inspiration of God. So knowing that God is eternal and all-knowing, doesn't that suggest that there are some things, or there's a fact that God knew some stuff would come up throughout this lifetime that would make honoring mom and dad optional? Some stuff that would take place that would bring dishonor to the title and position of mom and dad. Some stuff that would come up that would cause the breakdown in family. Of course, God knew that. Now, I look around and I see all humans here, unless Reverend Eunice is watching with her dog. But with the dog excluded, being all humans, no, it's not going to be easy to do this. And I'm not even going to ask the youngsters, I'm going to ask the adults here. Surely sometimes mama and daddy did some things when you were younger that made you say, "Listen, Linda." But I've got news for you. If things were easy, then everyone would do it. Verse 2 talks about having peace. To have peace in the Lord is to know that when family leaves you stranded, and they will, when friends forsake you, and they will, when your coworkers do you dirty, and they will, when your church hurts you, but not her, obviously, they will, I will still put my trust in God, because he won't leave me. Now, everybody ever been to a point where literally God was all you had? Well, allow me to take it a step further. I'm going to give you a little secret. Don't tell nobody. If God is all you have, that's actually all you need. If God is all you have, then you are automatically in prime position to have your setback become a setup for your comeback. Now, I know I've got about 3 or 4 witnesses who can testify that in plenty of times, I ain't had a dollar to my name. When I was in school, I was eating out of the vending machine for dinner and lunch. Hey, that 75-cent chip bag, hey, that was life. No one in my corner. I can't talk to my spouse, but when you've got nobody that you can count on, you got somebody that you can call on. And he's already got the battle won. Now, the songwriter says, "My hope or my trust is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name." And we got to go to the chorus. "On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. But can I take a second just to talk about quicksand or sinking sand? Sinking sand is a colloid consisting of fine granular materials such as sand and clay mixed with water. It forms in saturated loose sand, which can appear to be quite solid until a sudden change in pressure or shock initiates liquefaction. When water in the sand cannot escape, it creates a liquefied soil that loses strength and cannot support any weight, where anything on top of it inevitably collapses. Solomon is trying to warn his son, it might look sturdy, it might even look beautiful, but if God is not in it, that thing is going to collapse and you're going to end there right on your face. And what good coach wants you to fall flat on your face during the middle of a game? I've had 2 stints as a soldier in the Royal Bermuda Regiment. First, in 2010 until 2013, and again from 2020 until just recently, 2023. Now, the hardest part about your soldiering experience is the 2-week boot camp when you first start out. In that 2-week camp, your instructors are equipping you with the tools you will need to have a successful regiment experience. Everything is covered, from marching to exercise to security detailing to waking up early to discipline to weapons handling to learning to manage situations while being under extreme fatigue and stress. It is an experience that you can only truly appreciate once it's over, because only when it's over will you see how far you have grown. Because once you've mastered those basic skills, when it comes time to call on that info, you no longer have to think about it, but you're actually just reacting to the situation. You're already trained for it, and now it's just a matter of applying it. Brother Tay, Lance Corporal Fishington, I hope I summed that up pretty accurately, my boy. And that's how we have here with Solomon. Solomon equipping his son with the formula to living a blessed life. Because when those moments come up, and they will, the question will be asked, how will you respond? Which takes us to point number 2, the working. Last year, after years of arguing with myself and ultimately losing, I joined the gym. Now, my friends will tell you, I actually joined the gym in May, but didn't actually start going until August, and I'm glad you asked why. I was trying to go there at times where nobody else was there, so nobody could see me trying to work out, and I know getting in shape, Ron is a shape, but I'm not trying to stay there. But basically, after finding out that there was no time that the gym was 100% vacant, I said, Roy, you're just being dumb. You're stupid. You're basically spending money on gym membership and not even stepping foot in the gym. So to make a long story short, I got a personal trainer last year. August, haven't looked back, clothes are too big now, so thank God for that. Thank you. But one of the first things my trainer told me is that you can do all the training you want in the gym, but the real test is what you do outside of the gym. That's where you get your real results. And that happens, like I said, when you leave the gym, when no one is watching. That's when you put in your work. So what is your routine? Do you get enough sleep? Do you eat well? Do you put some time into exercise once you leave the gym? Yeah, that happened. Hey, I do. It's a struggle waking up at 5, but, like I said, if it was easy, everybody would do it. But that sounds just like the Christian experience there, right? No one yell out, Brother Kenny. But what do you do when you leave the 4 walls of church? As someone who watches a lot of basketball, in the recently concluded basketball season, there was a team in the playoffs who finished runners-up in the NBA championship. Now, I tell you, they didn't finish so well because they were the second-best team on paper, nor did they have an amazing team throughout the playoffs, nor were they back to win their opening round, second round, or semifinal series. But never underestimate the value of a great coach. This coach had his team prepared with plans A through Z and backed on in order to win these games. See, it's not about the talent, but it's about the hard work that you put in. And they say hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. It is not until you fully commit to the coach's plan that you will see the results. Like Deaconess Joey said all the time, it's a lifestyle. This Christian walk is not something that you can just put on a Sunday morning from 11 to 1:30 or 3 or 5 and think that you're going to be good to go once you walk out of the 4 walls of the church. No, it's got to be something that you keep with you. It's got to be something that you live. Verse 3 says, let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck. Write them upon the tablet of thine heart. So let's break down that verse a little bit. The word bond here comes from the Hebrew word koshar, which means to tie, to physically gird, confine, or compact. I had to ask myself, though, what's the significance of the neck? Because couldn't I just put it on the wrist or the arms or something, the waist even? So I checked it out, and I found that the neck is very often used figuratively in the Bible. To put something around someone's neck showed that that person belonged to something or someone else. Yes, a person who was captive by the neck meant that they were constrained and confined to what they were serving. Jeremiah 27, verse 12 says, I also spoke to Zedekiah, king of Judah, according to all these words, saying, bring your necks under the yoke of the king of Babylon, and serve him and his people. Solomon is telling his son, hey, son, wrap yourself up in God's arms. Be confined by it so that you can commit to it. For there is no one else like God in all the earth. And by doing so, Solomon is telling his son to serve God and only God. For it's with God that you will find shelter. And that's the safest place to be in the will of God. Now, how many people have seen that movie, Drumline, from 2002? One of my favorites, starring Nick Cannon, who must be having a doozy of a Father's Day. With his 12 children by 9 different women. What? That math ain't mathing. Anyway, I'm carrying on. Hey, you're silly. I'm carrying on, dude. The movie Drumline, to me, is not about the music per se, but the principles of working together as a band. Principles that I use when I direct bands. Now, one of the points of the movie is the importance of the drum to the marching band. The drum major in the movie referred to the drums as the pulse or heartbeat of any band. And without the heartbeat, you're dead. That is why it is important to guard your heart, to keep it in God's hand, to write mercy and truth on your heart. You know, people get these gang tattoos all over their bodies and piercings or whatever. It's to show allegiance to something. That is what verse 3 is telling us metaphorically to do, because Solomon knows once the heart is gone, the rest of the body will follow. See, I love this text here because it doesn't only just give instructions, but it tells you about the results if you follow said directions. If you do this, then that'll happen. If you do that, then this will happen. Now, verse 4 goes on to say that if you follow these instructions, you will find favor and high esteem in the sight of God and man. See, the Bible's orderly. It's not man and God. It's God and man. When we find favor and high esteem, we are on course to win, which takes us to point 3. Most people who know me as the musician. But it wasn't always like that. Throughout my entire life, I have had a strong understanding for math, patterns, and sequences, which, as I come to find out, is a key ingredient to having musical skills. They say that math and music are like first cousins. So if you're good at math, chances are you can work around understanding music because of the large pattern and sequence-based idea of it. Now, I think it's key to know that when I say I love numbers, I'm a big nerd. I love numbers. If some people think that I'm on my phone on WhatsApp, I'm usually on Sudoku or Waduku as my favorite games to play in my rare downtime on my phone. Or even, as I used to do a lot growing up, and even today, memorizing car numbers. And then challenging myself by taking a step further by trying to find out how those numbers are related. When I say a big nerd, that's me. Work Academy class of 2004. Code non-ascending. So I'm just going to give you a couple of car numbers. I'll demonstrate what I do when I see those numbers. So first license plate number is 21849, my dad's car number. So I look at it like this. I take the 21 in the front, and then I take the 8 and the 4, which equals 12, adding them together, 8 plus 4, 12. 21 minus 12, 9. So I look at it like that. 47163, my car number. I use the every other number technique. I tell you, it gets wild, you know. So you got the 4 and the 1, so you take that, and you get 3. See the every other number pattern there? You look at the middle numbers, you get 7 minus 1, which gives you everything's related. 17567, my grandpa's old car number. You got 1 plus the 7, which gives you 8 plus 5 gives you 6 plus 7 gives you. Gets wild, man. The last one, 25174, the cathedral. Yes. You look at the first 3 numbers. You got 2 times 5 gives you, 10 plus 1 gives you, 7 plus 4 gives you. I can do this all day. Give me enough time, and I will find a pattern with those numbers. So when Deacon Sumner, or even Pastor, I found out today, when she goes a little off track with that visitor song or bus driver Deacon Sumner, my brain's going the entire time trying to figure out a pattern of how we're going to get out of this and effectively land the plane or park the bus. I'm sweating over there, and it's not because it's hot. Shekinah, my love for numbers took me on a journey to find the data related to the role of a father, the role that the father plays in his child's not only social life, but also in the church experience. Brace yourselves, because it actually hurt me. Data collected in 2017 on 18.4 million children showed that only a quarter, or approximately 4.6 million children, live without their biological father, stepfather, or adopted father. To put it into perspective, that's enough to fill New York City twice and Los Angeles 4 times over. The Texas Department of Correction reported that 85% of youth in prison have an absent father. The U.S. Department of Justice concluded that 63% of youth suicide are from fatherless homes, 73% of youth in corrections or residential treatment facilities come from fatherless homes, 75% of rapists are motivated by displaced anger from feelings of abandonment from their father. 90% of children who decide to run away from home are originally from absent father homes. 85% of high school dropouts are from fatherless homes. And 80% of children living in poverty are from absent father homes. A survey done by Promise Keepers and Baptist Press recently revealed that there is a 1 in 50, that's 2%, a 1 in 50 chance that a child with a father who does not go to church will continue to attend church as an adult. When father attends church regularly, even without the mother, that shoots up to 2/3 of those children who will continue to attend church as an adult. And when father and mother both go, that number goes up to 3/4 or 75% of children who will become regular members of church. Church, this is the courts, criminology professionals, psychologists, educators, and the church all agreeing on the same thing. And that is that fathers are not a luxury, they are a necessity. Now, that doesn't mean by any stretch that a mother is less important. It is not about more or less, because believe you me, if it were up to men to get pregnant, we wouldn't have overpopulation, I'll say that. But saints, it's not about more or less important. What is important is that God designed the role of mother and father to serve in a complementary fashion to each other, and together should reflect the nature, the person, and the heart of God, and is a role that neither can do on their own, no matter how hard they try. Now, we live in a society that is increasingly devaluing masculinity and manhood. To say it, manhood is under attack and is being redefined. Turn on any sitcom, and you'll find men portrayed as immature boys. Fathers often shown as beer gut buffoons. The fact of it is that a father's influence, regardless of what is shown in the media, is critical to child development. Verses 5 and 6 say, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path." See, the word that jumped out to me here was the word lean, from the Hebrew word shahan. I think I'm pronouncing it right. But in 2 Kings 7, it talked about the officer who the king had leaned on for advice, an officer whom he did not even question because of that officer's wisdom being beyond question. That said king is totally dependent on whom he is leaning on. So when Solomon tells his son, don't lean on your own understanding, he's saying, don't be totally dependable on your own instincts or intuition. And you know, we've heard throughout our lives, trust your instincts, go with your gut. And the funny thing is, we can actually be spot on sometimes, like, I knew that person was that, blah, blah, blah. But still, if you keep on going in that, you're going to find a flaw in that, because there's always going to be a flaw in the way we think, because we have emotions, and our understanding can sometimes be wrong or misinformed, or what they told you might not even be true. Now, I know it's hard to hear that for some people, but unless we guys ever get rid of this flesh, we're going to be operating in it. So don't trust that judgment. Take that to God. Now, Solomon is saying, son, if you're going to live a successful and your best life, you have to learn to question your own judgment. Do I have all the facts? Am I seeing this correctly? Could your opinion be biased by past hurt? Or could I inevitably actually be wrong? If you don't learn to question your own judgment, you become someone who doesn't have a pause button. You just move from emotion to action. They move from instinct rather than intelligence. You have to learn how to press pause, everybody. Sometimes the worst mistake or I even say me, the worst mistakes I've made is when I hit send instead of save. When I hit play instead of pause. When I should have just put myself in a timeout. Now, I remember a little story when I was young, playing basketball in the youth leagues as a child. And one thing about me, those who knew me as a little child, I don't get down with them mama and your daddy jokes. I never have, never did, never. I couldn't stand them. You could say whatever you wanted to me. Oh, you're four-eyed this. I came out of the womb with glasses. You're fat this, you're slow this. Fine, I can take it. I used to get boldest when I was a kid. Used to get slapped in the back of my head. Fine. The minute you mentioned Junior or Julie Durrant, that beast got unleashed. So one time I was playing in a basketball game, like I said, and someone said something about my daddy, and I absolutely lost it. Now, my dad had to pull me out of the game, and being the star player on the team, everybody was like, put Ryan back in. My dad is like, you see what Ryan's doing over here? This guy's hyperventilating, his screaming, his snotting, his everything. It went so far, my daddy had to call my mama over to have me get calmed down. And I tell you, I don't deal with those jokes. I wasn't even sure if the guy was serious or not. I'm not even sure if he won or lost that game because I went that red. You know how you had to line up in the lawns and shake hands with the opposite? I weren't there. You can say bad sportsmanship. Hey, I'm telling you, that kid was good in hospital that day. But thank God for his grace. Yeah, hey, that kid better thank God, I'm telling you. The last piece of advice that Solomon gave in the account that we're reading in verse 6, it says, in all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Now somebody say acknowledge him. The word acknowledge from the Hebrew yada means to know properly or well, to ascertain by seeing or to know. Now, how many people have heard this saying, when you know better, you do better? So act like you know God. You know what's crazy is, as parents, we are quick to have our children trust in fictional characters like the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, knowing full well you're dipping into your pocket to get that thing. But when it comes time to actually give them an opportunity to learn about a factual God, that's something that we choose not to do. Help me understand that, please. Now, I know everybody's educated, got PhDs and all sorts of designations and letters behind your name, and that's fine. But I stand with them old school saints who have been through some stuff before. Then they say experience is the best teacher, right? So can I tell you about Pastor's favorite, Mahalia Jackson, who had a song that says, I may not know, or some places I cannot go, but one thing I am sure of is that God is real because I feel him in my soul. Now I'm winding down right here. When we get to know God and acknowledge him and acknowledge that he is real, he will direct our path. And I'm sure everybody who operates a vehicle in Bermuda right now can testify to needing to be directed. So can I get 4 people? Any 4? Thank you for volunteering. Dr. Woods, Deaconess Jennifer, Mother Sumner, Deacon Matthew. Let's run it. Just line up in a straight line going down the aisle. Any order, doesn't matter. Straight line going that way. So, and you guys can put your hands on yes, there you go. Well, you don't trust them? So, let's just go for a walk. Just start going. There you go. Go to the left, Mother Sumner. Just keep swerving. Just keep swerving. You see how everybody's following that? That's just how you're going to make it through. Oh, yeah, hey. It was all planned, you know. No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. You guys are done. I appreciate you. You guys get your Oscars. So when we're looking at the vehicle in front of us, as we're doing right now, what they do is what we do. If they go straight, then we know they're good, that we're good. If they swerve, we're swerving. Why? Because we're not trying to hit the potholes in the middle of the street. So I bring it home by saying this. Let me get this straight. So we don't know the driver in the car in front of us. We assume that they're sober. We assume that they have a valid license. Although we don't know this for sure, we trust them to know what's ahead because they're in front. Can I tell you that that's how we should trust God? He's out in front. He's directing our path, holding our hands. Church, fathers, allow him to lead, guide, and direct your path so you can lead behind a more lasting legacy with your children and to those who follow your lead. Blessings.